What's going on today, YouTubers? Welcome to another edition of Walking Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at another production knife, one that's been out on the market for a little while. I did buy this a while ago, and I just kind of found it the other day and started carrying it again. I've forgotten how much I like the knife, but this is the Maxace Balance. I believe this did come out in 2016. I'm almost positive, actually. And I think Maxace, the company, is actually new for 2016 as well. They are a Chinese manufacturing company. One of the host of new Chinese manufacturers that decided to start producing high quality stuff as opposed to very cheap stuff in higher volume. So let's go ahead and jump in, take a look at the specs and so forth. The blade length is 3.54 inches of VG10 steel. Oh, 2015, I guess. Huh. Anyways, yeah, VG10 steel. There is a version of this knife with a higher end steel, like an S35VN or something like that. And then they made also this more budget friendly version. Obviously we have a really classic drop point blade shape with a full flat grind. Very, very excellent slicing knife. The blade stock is, I'd say that's probably medium. It's not thick, it's not thin, but it does come down to a pretty thin edge thanks to that full flat grind. I'll give you a look at the edge is nothing to write home about, but that's something I intend on touching up myself. I can't remember if it came very sharp and I just used it to when it's dull. I doubt it though. I think it just probably came without much of an edge, to be honest. So we have opening methods. We have this thumb hole, and we also have the flipper. Very large sharpening choil there. The handles are jade colored G10 or natural colored G10. I've heard it both ways. To me that's jade, but whatever. And they are very interesting the way they made it. The liner lock here is nested stainless steel, and the non-locking side also has a nested piece, so that the bearing, the ball bearing pivot, isn't riding on G10. And this is a caged bearing pivot. You can see the action is exceptionally smooth. Lockup is very good. You're not really there. This doesn't have like a fully metal side, so I don't know how much torsion you could put on this knife without breaking something. But it's a knife. I mean, I wouldn't think you would want to pry with it anyway. So as long as you're using it for what it's intended for, I don't think strength would be an issue. Let's see. It does have this kind of bark-like texture on the G10 handles that give it some traction. And if you really look close, you can see it. There you go. I think they might have made a titanium version of this knife, but I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, there was like a few different versions of this released. The handle length is 4.64 inches, giving us an overall length of, I believe, 8.3 or just under there inches. The hardware is Torx hardware, and then it's just a blank on the other side. I did have this knife apart. Basically, the stop pin is nested in this side here, and then just kind of Has a mating hole over here. Like I said, this is a nested liner lock. Caged ball bearing pivot, like I said. It does have a little G10 backspacer there. Lanyard tube. Spring clip that works very well. This is a fairly thin knife for the size. Not fairly, it is a very thin knife for the size, for 8.3 inches. And that also keeps the weight way down. We're looking at 3.8 ounces for a knife that's almost 8.5 inches overall. There's your lockup, very secure. And like I showed you, the action is just crazy smooth. That was the first thing that struck me about the knife, was that it was that smooth out of the box. And at the time when I got it, I think, like I said, I got it when it came out, so I guess it was 2015 or very early 2016. The only other knife that I owned that could do anything close to that, I think, was the Shirogorov Neon Light. And this is, I mean, if anything, I think maybe even a little bit smoother thanks to the heavier blade. But you can open this, there we go. You can open this pretty much any way you can imagine. Roll it open. You can flick it with, you know, fingers on the other side. Just a very fun knife to play with if you're into that. The flipping action is nice. You do have to, since the detent isn't quite as strong, it does have a little run of jimping there. Light switching it, it won't fly out, but if you preload it a little bit, then it will snap right out. But yeah, just because it's so smooth, you're not going to get that problem of like half firing with like you do with some flippers. So as far as value goes, this knife, brand new from like a place like Knife Center, I think goes for just over $100, maybe like 115, something like that. So if you can find it at a place like Knife Center or Blade HQ, I definitely think it's worth jumping over. Now there are knives in that price range, that $100 price range, that you're going to get better blade steels on. You'll be able to find stuff in S35VN, thanks to the explosion in value in the production knife market, and I think probably a drop in the price of S35VN. So if you're just thinking about blade steel, then yeah, I'd say you can probably do better for $120 or whatever. But I think this is more than just the blade steel. You're getting a lot of work done. Well, I don't know if it's a lot of work, but it's obviously work done to the G10. The action is really exceptional, so it's extremely fun to play with. Very useful knife too. This is one of the best blade shapes and grinds. You can get full flat grind on a drop point. That's pretty much as good as it gets. So yeah, very, very high value in my opinion, even though it is VG10 and G10 on the handles. Just the action alone, I've paid a lot more for worse action. So yeah, in my opinion, very, very high value knife. But you know, that's up to you to decide if you think it would be useful to you or fun to play with. Check it out. I think there are still some left on websites, like I said, like Knife Center and Blade HQ. I've had this for a while, so I can't be 100% sure that they're still out there, but I would be surprised if they weren't. I think Maxace as a company is still producing stuff, so you should still, you know, they should still be getting new stock in. And if you can find the nicer version, if you really, really need S35VN, I guess just look for the nicer version. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this one. Stay tuned, plenty more reviews coming up. This one was just kind of like an out of the blue. I found the knife again and decided I should have done a review on it a long time ago. So there it is. Alright guys, the Maxace balance. Take it easy.